Hey, and welcome back to the Quest for Completion Live Edition. We're on episode 5 now, and I know I said last time I'd do episode 4.5 and that I'd release it like pretty early on in the week, but the thing is, I've decided I'm going to make this a full-fledged episode and put a full-fledged episode's amount of content into it. Originally, we were only going to do Magus Citadel for survival and get the Harpoon there, and then jump into Crystal Escort to get ourselves a mana gathering weapon for our monk. And that was going to be the whole episode, which was why it was going to be a half episode. But I've decided I'm going to tack on Boss Rush to this episode, and also a little bit of Lab Assault as well, because two reasons. One of them is that I realized if we're going to be doing Magus Citadel with our current stats, or at least with the builds that I know of, we're probably going to need to do a little bit of DPS, and we don't have a good DPS weapon. So we need to get a good DPS weapon, and to get that we need to go into Boss Rush. But yeah, Boss Rush. So if you don't know, in Boss Rush, all you're doing is just fighting a shit ton of bosses in a row. And it's actually pretty easy and pretty quick for the vast majority of it. So what I like to do personally for this map is I just stack a bunch of auras and traps in the middle, put a whatever do you buff beam, and then just put 4 reflectors here. Frankly speaking, these reflectors aren't going to matter on Insane because it's super easy, but it's definitely worth putting them down. After that, if you want to, you can like go around here and get all of the mana to upgrade your buff beam and stuff like that. But I don't think we're gonna need to. By the way, this is our weapon, and our weapon isn't particularly the best. Like it's pretty bad, and that's because I am poor. Funnily enough, I ran out of mana when I finished upgrading a bunch of the items from last episode. Anyways, so hold left click and right click at the same time to get optimal DPS output. Uh, The reason we're doing Boss Rush, by the way, I hope the audio isn't too terrible. The reason we're doing Boss Rush is because we don't have a good weapon, and Boss Rush actually gives you the Eagle Crest Standard, which is like a mage weapon that has like 103 damage per upgrade, which is like way more than the regular amount for weapons, for mage weapons, I mean. Also because I like Boss Rush. I really like doing Boss Rush. By the way, if you're wondering why I was standing still for most of that fight, but I dodged the moment he lunged down, the Demon Lord lunged down, it's because when he lunges down like that, if he lands on you in the right like way, I suppose, he will one-shot you and instantly kill you, which kind of sucks. Goblin mechs, just stay in the middle and wait for them to come in. If you want to, you can do... Oh, I got hit. If you want to, you can do the 3 Eternia crystals and you'll get a buff from doing that, like a DPS buff. But if you're doing if you're doing this on Insane with just a single character, it doesn't really matter. Frankly speaking, there's nothing to worry about until we get into the third boss and a little bit into the second boss. Or not third boss, sorry. The last boss and the second to last boss. That's what I meant to say. Alright, now... Again, if you want, you can upgrade all this stuff, but I don't think it really matters that much. For the dragon, he will always spawn like down over here, and he will start going in this direction. So you want to be at the bottom left Harpoon for when the dragon spawns. And unless he starts shooting at you or decides to just change direction randomly, he will always be hittable with this Harpoon. But hit him with the Harpoon there, and then wait for him to appear. And when he appears here, don't start shooting him immediately. Wait for him to do his Dragon Breath animation. So right now he's just doing fireballs, fireballs. We're waiting for the Dragon Breath. Okay, Dragon Breath, there we go. And then just beat the shit out of him. The reason you want to wait for the Dragon Breath animation here is because normally that dragon will take like maybe a third of his health and then fly off instead of like letting you kill him completely. But when he's doing the Dragon Breath animation, he's completely locked into it, and as a result, you can fully kill him if you have the DPS. Alright, next up is the Spider Queens, and these are pretty easy to deal with. Frankly speaking, they don't really have that much that they can do to you. They're more annoying than anything, and this is the main mechanic they have. They will just plop down and show their crystal, and you just have to shoot their crystal, and then it's going to be on a cooldown and a bit of damage you have to do before you can do that same thing again. So, you know, kind of rinse and repeat. Damage them a little bit, wait for the crystal to pop up, shoot them in the crystal, and then wait for the crystal to pop back up again after they've stood up. If you can do it like decently, you can probably get them to be synced up so that they're both like, you know, on the ground at the same time. I couldn't, but you know, if you're better than me, I suppose. Also, I really feel like this is going to mess up the audio of this episode. These loud noises. All right, that's that. Next up is the Genie King. Yes, he's an interesting boss, um, but his whole mechanic is these lamps. So there's going to be a bunch of lamps around the map, and he's going to fly out of the lamp, and then you gotta shoot him a bunch, and then he'll go back into a different lamp, and that's pretty much the whole cycle. Be sure that you're not near the edge when you're shooting him, um, because he has this tongue attack that he can do, and that tongue attack launches you back pretty far. So if you're on this like outer edge area, it will launch you into the stratosphere and off the map. And if you're on hardcore like we are, you'll instantly die. But yeah, just follow the path of the little vape cloud that he leaves whenever he gets damaged enough to get to the next to the next lamp. Yes, and that's pretty much the whole fight. I would like to say that you could do something like you can with the dragon here, but you really can't. The only way to like kill this guy faster, really, is to just have an unreasonable amount of damage in one hit. So basically just play on the barbarian with like the proper weapons. But we don't have a barbarian, and we won't for a good while, so that's not really an option. But yeah, so the thing is, I'm going to be doing this map at least once, but hopefully, more likely than not, we'll be doing this map 2 to 3 times total, because it's unlikely that we'll be getting a decent Eagle Crest Standard Classic. I don't know how to say the name of the weapon. It's unlikely that we'll be getting a good weapon on our first attempt. But the nice thing is that while most bosses, for most bosses, they're only going to have a bit more HP, but for like things like the Genie King, he'll have more HP, but it won't matter that much, because the amount of times he goes in and out of the lamp is based off of like the percentage of HP that you deal in damage, so he won't actually take that much longer. But yeah, that's the Genie King. It's pretty simple. If you have it on Insane like we do, and you have like a okay-ish weapon, you'll be perfectly fine. As for the next set of bosses, these Krakens, I'm going to take a little bit of time to explain. The Krakens, there's going to be 2 of them. You have to shoot their tentacles, so I recommend being in like this zoomed out mode and holding left click, right click, and then aim for the tentacles. Make sure that when you're fighting them, stay around the center area, kind of around these pillars. Don't jump in the air at all if you can, and make sure you're not standing like right next to them most of the time, because they have this one spinning attack that they could do, and if you're in the air, or if they just, you get unlucky when they're doing that spinning attack, you will get launched off the map. It will make you fly. Or if like 2 of the spinning attacks happen at once. If you're in the very center, you might get lucky and get hit into one of these pillars, and you won't fly off the map. But other than that, just spin around the circle area a decent bit. Make sure you keep your distance from them, and that's pretty much it. Same thing is true for these guys as was true for the Dragon and the Genie King. They're going to be vulnerable after you take the tentacles down. They're going to take a certain amount of damage to their core, and then they're going to go back. Only way to actually like beat that is to just instantly kill them, or deal an unreasonable amount of damage, which again we can't do. If you want to, you can focus one of them down at a time instead of doing both at once to kind of pace yourself. But I'm going to be honest, I'm not really thinking when I'm fighting these guys. I'm just making sure that I'm not super close to them so I don't get launched off the map. I am sure the audio is wonderful this episode, because I know on like the other maps we were doing with Tavern Defense that it was going terrible, and I can only imagine how much worse it'll be now that we have like everything going on here. Although on the upside, we do not have any goddamn lightning towers stacked on top of each other to blast our ears out. Not yet, at least. But yeah, this is the basic flow of the fight. There's not really much to it. If we don't get a good Eagle standard after this, and by good I mean like something that has the ability to reach 80 charge rate, positive-ish projectile speed, and let's say like 80 charge positive projectile speed, and about like 6,000 in its base damage, then we'll just keep farming it, basically. But yeah, that's the goal for the weapon that we get from here. 6,000-ish base damage, at least 10,000 projectile speed, and around 80 charge. And that'll be pretty much it. And obviously, you want to have additional projectiles maxed out. That's a given for literally anything. You'd never don't want additional projectiles maxed out. But yeah, if you keep your distance and you play it safe, the Krakens really are not that bad. But definitely make sure that you're cautious when you're fighting them, because If you don't pay attention at any point and they do that attack, you will be launched, and you don't want to get launched. Trust me. It's not very fun having to restart the entire map after you fought all the other bosses in a row. Funnily enough, this map actually does take a pretty good amount of time, but I don't really notice it as much when I'm doing boss rush compared to like a survival on a map or a campaign, because it's just like, you know, it's a boss rush. It's a lot more fun, I think. But yeah, even I think pretty much no matter what we get from this like first attempt, it'll be better than the current weapon we have. So at least if you have the weapon I have or something similar, no matter what, you'll be getting an upgrade after this. That was stupid. I don't know why I jumped in the air that time. Either way, we are done with the fight, and there we go. Oh, and we got the achievement, Boss Crusher. Let's go. 172. That's so many upgrades. Okay. Just to clarify what I meant, let's go back to the tavern real quick. Every weapon has a certain amount of damage they get per upgrade, and certain ones are higher than others. So like this one right here, we're basically getting 106 damage from this per upgrade. And I don't know if that's the maximum. The numbers change a little bit, but that's around how it works. And then for this one, it's gonna go up by like, what is that, like 50 damage, 40 damage? Not that much. So basically this weapon's gonna scale a lot faster. Either way, I didn't think we'd be done that fast, but we are. 5,600. So now we are dealing 118,000 per hit, and our DPS overall, what is that? 2 million DPS? Wow, that's really good. Yeah, okay. So that's good enough. Will I jump into LabAssault yet? No, I won't jump into LabAssault yet. Instead, I am going to jump into the Lost Quests Magus Citadel, and we're going to do it on Insane Hardcore. By the way, if you can't do this map on Insane Hardcore for whatever reason, if you're having difficulty with it, just do it on Hardcore. It's not going to be that much of a difference in terms of the reward. Like, it'll be noticeable, but it won't matter that much because you're only really here to get yourself that chicken weapon, to get yourself the Harpoon to be able to get this map done and get the chicken weapon. It's kind of a stepping stone. We're doing it on Insane because basically I want to. Voice crack? Was that a voice crack? But yeah, okay. Let's move on. By the way, quick thing. I did have to take off one of our pieces of gear that was on our EV because she had 0 speed with that thing on. So if you're wondering why our AV stats are lower than they were in the extras video, that's why. Anyways, let's get into the campaign for this map. Now, this map is unique because it has a unique set of enemies. They don't appear on the first wave, thank God, but they are really, really annoying when they do appear. I'm speaking, I'm not thinking right now. My build for this is an abbreviated version of what Chiku used in his campaign build. So I just put an aura stack at every crystal. I mean, that's like the basic bread and butter of every build in Dungeon Defenders. Get all the mana, and then after that, we're gonna kind of thin out our defenses here and there. Also, I will be adjusting things based from Chiku's build. So if you're thinking I'm going to be using the exact same one, I do change quite a bit. So right, this ore stack here, I like to move it a little bit further back, like this. Zoom in if you're having difficulties seeing. I like to put it there because otherwise they might overlap with the spawns. Should I be on this character? No, I should not be on this character yet. Swap back over to Eevee. Yes. So yeah. On EV, place a buff beam right here on this little bench. Place a reflector in front of it. And then on every one of your crystals, make sure you place a reflection beam right in front of them and covering them on both sides. That's because the special enemies that spawn on this map are absolutely atrocious. They'll shoot projectiles very, very quickly on a lot of them, and those projectiles can damage your crystal, and you don't want your crystal getting damaged. Alright, next section, this buff beam here. Just be rough with it. Doesn't need to be super accurate. This section here, place down a 3DU physical beam, something like that, and then another one like that, forming a bit of a V shape here. Needs to be somewhat accurate there. I will warn you guys. And this one, I will put this on 5. Actually, I'll put it on 4DU. Oh, I need to go quickly. Okay. I don't know if that's a big enough wall. We'll find out later. Reflectors. Hold on. reflectors here, slap it like this, slap it like this. I'm going to need to sell that later on. Slap it like this. And I am confident I missed a reflector somewhere. But for now, that'll be good enough. Yeah, I definitely missed a reflector somewhere. Swap onto our mage. And place 2 lightning towers right here, stack them. And then, I don't know if we're going to have the time. No, we're not. Okay. So, since we have a DPS weapon and all that, we can afford to not build anything down there for now. But you want to be placing down at least like 2 lightning towers down there at the farthest back point in these buff beams. But we can't, because I kind of I spent too much time speaking and not enough time building. But for now, upgrade all your buff beams to maxed. Oh, definitely upgrade this top set of buff beams for sure. This one is probably a little bit more important than the other ones. Or the bottom one for this first wave. If you don't have the defenses set up, it might not be, but there we go. Give me mana, give me mana, give me mana. I want mana. Oh, okay. I was hoping I would get a bit of mana from that wyvern. Alright, get yourself the mana, and back onto... Let's jump onto the EV for a second. Funnily enough, Chiku, when he did this map, he barely needed any sort of assistance from his minions. Yes, I will be putting more minions down, not because I need them, but more because they make the map a lot easier and faster. Alright, I think that buff beam is supposed to be where it is. And is this one proper? I don't know, I don't remember exactly how I was supposed to do this build, I'll be honest. I know that you're supposed to have something like this here, something like this here, and then I think like this. And I don't believe this is necessary at all, because there's nothing shooting back here. If you want to, you can actually place like a reflector right in front of or on top of those walls back there. I refrained from doing so, just because I'm not confident on the DU amounts. This is a bit of a scuffed build, I'll be honest. Mainly because I'm adapting somebody else's. Anyways, alright, so Deadly Striker and Lightning Towers on top of each other. Place the Deadly Striker, one of them facing this way, one of them facing this way, and then I think like 2 facing that way. Hold on, let me check my notes. Yeah, 2 facing that way, and then place down 3 and 4 lightning towers like that. Yes, that should be enough. If you want to, you can place down way more lightning towers there, or place down more lightning towers up here. I won't, because I want to use the DU elsewhere. Notably, right here we're going to place a darkness trap. I'll be honest, I don't know if that darkness trap actually does anything, but I like placing it there because of ogres. And then over here and over here is just going to be a simple gas trap. Yeah. And then after that, you have 3 more DU left over, and for that, I'm going to just place like a gas trap over here. Or maybe over here. Yeah, that sounds a bit better. I guess you could place that extra gas trap anywhere, to be honest. But yeah, that's what I like to do. After you're done with that, quickly go on your summoner, if you can. This isn't super necessary, but just place down a spider minion and a mage minion here together. Now, frankly speaking, that's most of the build completed. Upgrade the buff beams down here when you can, but you're going to have to kind of puppy guard up there, that crystal, because ogres are kind of 50-50 up there. If you're lucky, they will completely ignore the crystal and just focus on the nothing that is... what hit that? I'm so curious as to what hit that. It was only 1 hit. I bet it's something from up here, because I was over here for the moment. Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, ogres will sometimes choose to completely ignore what you have built up here. And they'll just go straight for the crystal. And the other half of the time, they'll focus the buildings and they won't go for your crystal at all. It's kind of 50-50. So you might have to puppy guard this area. And that's why we got the DPS weapon. Is the DPS weapon necessary? No, because we're not going to be DPSing the boss. But I do like having it because I am a big fan of Boss Rush. And I wanted to include it at some point. And also because it'll be nice for the EVs that we'll be fighting later in LabAssault. But yeah, as far as the majority of the build goes, that's pretty much it. I will be doing a big bunch of tower stacking through minions in a bit. And I'll explain that right now. So minions, when it comes to tower stacking minions, you need to basically place down your cursor where you want to spawn your minions, and then do not move it at all. Don't place these too far forward, by the way. I'll explain why in a bit. But place down your spider minion. The spider minion doesn't matter because you can stack anything on top of it. But then after that, select where you're going to place your mage minion, and then do not move your mouse. Just don't move your mouse at all, and then place down like 3 mage minions, and then a bunch of archer minions. Just as many archer minions as you can like think of. And that's pretty much it. If you move your mouse even like a millimeter here, you won't be able to stack the towers anymore. Stack the minions anymore, I mean. And that's oh. Ooh, hold on. Yeah, there we go. Because basically there's one pixel where it's kind of acceptable to stack the towers on top of each other because of probably a bug that DD... this bug has been around since summer release, so it's not going to crash, so don't worry about it. But yeah, if you move your mouse, you got to find that one pixel back, or just kind of give up on it. But I've stacked enough towers down there that I'm pretty happy with it, so instead, for now, I'm just going to slap down another mage minion here. Actually, I'm going to sell one of these archer minions over here and go up. Actually, no, I won't do that. Never mind. I know I'm flip-flopping a lot, I know, but let's throw down something like you here. Okay, that's the build. The thing is, this map has a boss, and that boss is going to spawn in this corner right here. And the boss actually does a good amount of damage, but these walls, it's going to get stuck on these walls, and we're going to get it killed with all these minions and these lightning towers and the deadly strikers. And we'll be tower boosting when we're doing that as well, so we're going to be kind of multitasking. And I think it's going to be the first instance of tower boosting in the whole series. But for now, upgrade your buff beams, get those maxed out, and then after that, upgrade your auras and get the auras maxed out, and try to puppy guard this area a fair bit because it's gonna need it. It's definitely gonna need puppy guarding. Also, if you can, move these gas traps back a little bit because I forget the exact reason, but I think like some enemies aren't in perfect range, so it's better to have them move back a little bit. But yeah, just you don't need to worry about that bottom area at all, by the way. So just ignore it. But for the rest of it, just upgrade your auras up here. Kind of puppy guard if you can. Oh yeah, and also upgrade these lightning towers to max too. It also would probably be worthwhile to get these reflection beams maxed out. The darkness trap and the gas traps obviously don't need anything like that, but these reflections might take a decent bit of a beating. So it's probably worth getting them like a fair amount of upgrades here. Not super necessary though. Oh, jackass. See that? He was about to hit the crystal. Yeah, I think if you're tower boosting down there the whole time, that isn't as much of an issue. But I'm not, so it is. Oh look, and this time he's not hitting the crystal at all. Isn't that weird? Don't risk it though. Quick bit here, I forgot to mention while I was actually like, playing, but if you find one of these kinds of huntress weapons when you're playing either from Tavern Defense or this or Survival of doing this, pick it up. If it has at least 40 upgrades, I'd say. This is a crystal tracker. It does like a big AoE blast radius hit, and it's going to be super useful for doing LabAssault because it allows us to cheese the vast majority of the entire map. Alright, we're on the final wave, and we're going to be doing it with 2 characters, our Jester and our Monk. We won't really have to multitask that much, but our Monk's going to be down here with a Genie and good tower boost, just holding right click and tower boosting the whole time. And our Jester is going to be up there for the majority of the time. Just kind of puppy guarding that crystal, making sure that none of the ogres beat the shit out of it. But yeah, nothing is really that different. Just Control G, and this time, actually I should have gotten a bit of mana. I should have gotten a bit of mana on my Jester. My Jester? On my Monk. Just tower boost, and it'll actually go a fair bit easier. Alright, this is basically boss time. When the boss spawns, you're going to have a bit of a countdown. You won't have any cutscene. Start shooting this direction. And make sure you have a bunch of mana on your Monk, because, maybe not make sure, because it's not super necessary if you're puppy guarding that top crystal, but it's good to have a bunch of mana saved up on your Monk, just to make sure that the tower boost lasts for longer. But it's pretty much the exact same thing, nothing has really changed. And there he is. Alright, I'm just going to leave that like that, and then swap back to my main guy here. If you're wondering why we're not DPSing the boss down ourselves, one, again, I want to puppy guard this crystal to make sure that it's like 100% guaranteed that we get through. And two, as a secondary thing, we don't deal that much damage to him, actually, even with our buffed weapons. he has some sort of resistance. I don't know if it's just the mage weapons or what, but he has some sort of resistance, and it makes it a lot harder for us to do damage to him than for our towers. Also, tower boost is super OP. Now we run out of tower boost, but it shouldn't matter that much. Oh, and the moment that you can, go back to tower boosting on your monk. Okay, that's it. Da-da-da-da. Looks like we got a sword and the Ace of Spades. That's good. Funnily enough, even on Insane, this map can give you some solid weapons, solid rewards for like accessories. So definitely worth checking out. Our Ace of Spades is perfectly fine. That's good. This is going to replace whatever weapon we have on our monk. This is not that bad. I will keep it. And as far as accessories go, it looks like we didn't luck out and get a good one this time. Alright, keep the Ace of Spades, sell everything else, and move on to the next map. Now that we've done a campaign, we can move into the survival, but before that, make sure you upgrade your Ace of Spades, if you did get one, to something like this. Make the additional projectiles maxed out up to 9, make sure the projectile speed is at least like 10k-ish, and then for the range damage, don't make it too high, keep it around the 1.5 to 2.5k range, because we're not trying to kill enemies with this thing, not yet, we're just trying to bleed them for mana. Anyways, move on to the survival. Wave 8 is the highest one you can start on, but the thing is, once you go into the actual map, it's going to throw you on wave 10. I don't know why it does this, but it's not any harder than, you know, regular, so it's fine with me, and it does save us a bit of time, which is really nice because we're going to be spending a ton of time here. If you do everything properly and efficiently, you'll be spending at least an hour 30 here. And if you choose to have like 4 characters up the entire time and, you know, farm XP at the same time as getting the pets here, you're going to be looking at maybe 2.5 hours. That's how long Chiku took in his playthrough. Also, the build, also from Chiku. Yes, Chiku has a very, very good build for it, and that's why I'm going to be using it, because I tried this a bunch of times on my own, and I couldn't really find a good build myself. I do change a few things from his though, because for some reason he put 2 sets of auras up there instead of just 1. I don't know why he did that, but he did that. And also he doesn't use any gas traps, which I use because I like them. They provide a lot more security. Next is going to be the reflectors. It's the exact same as campaign really. Place down 2 reflectors on each crystal, but this time your defenses are focused up around this middle crystal here instead of that bottom one down there. So place down extra deflectors there, and also a buff beam. Yes. If your buff beam, like mine, doesn't reach long enough for your auras, do that, and it'll be long enough, and you can sell it, and boom. It's like you cheated the game a little bit there. Next is up here. These buff beams, specifically, this one specifically, that thing is going to get battered by enemies. I don't know why they chose to focus that one down so much, but they do. So make sure that when you're doing your upgrading, you get that reflector wall up to 3 stars, because it might go down depending on how the waves go. And then down here, you know, same thing, just reflector, and buff beam. And that's pretty much it for the reflector walls, buff beams, things like that for EV. Next is it's just the Deadly Strikers and Lightnings. So place them around this area, this tile here. Have 2 Deadly Strikers facing directly down this way, and then 1 facing kind of diagonal-ish, like that. I don't know why you wanted that one facing diagonal, but I'm just going to go off the build that Chiku did. And after that, just slap down a ton of lightning towers. As many as you can do. And that's pretty much it for the primary DU. For the minion units, you're not going to be able to do anything just yet on the starting wave, because we don't have enough mana. But slap down a mage minion right here, and that's pretty much it for the first wave. Now, I will also be going onto my Jester and moving back these traps. Actually, not those yet. We're going to be moving those back later, but for now, move this trap onto the buff beam. I'll be honest, I don't know if this gas trap is super necessary, but I like having it there. and it makes me feel good. Anyways, first wave, just focus on upgrading everything. The good thing about this build is that you don't actually have to go crazy with your upgrading. You only really need to, like, I don't know, you need to get the buff beams. Ah, so loud. You only need to get the buff beams, the auras, and then some reflectors up. After that, it's like not really necessary to go overboard with the upgrades. Like, you don't need to get all of these deadly strikers and all that maxed out. And you definitely don't need to get all the minions maxed out. You can trust me on that one. Getting the minions is really, really overboard. Oh, it's so loud. Let's move these traps back. If you're wondering why you're playing on your own and you're not able to move these traps as much as I am, it's because your Jester has too much tower range. Don't ask me how that works, but that's probably the reason why. Make sure your tower range is like super low on your Jester. If you can, make it negative, but I can't. Now is going to be the minions. You're going to be placing 2 minion walls. All of them up here, one on this side and one on this side. So this minion wall here, make sure it's a little bit farther forward. I'll be honest, I probably should have moved the reflector wall a little bit forward, but what can you do? Make sure this minion wall is very tight, because if you're not, it's pretty likely that an ogre will just kind of bounce up above these minions and just go beat the shite out of your towers here. Shouldn't be that much of a problem, to be honest, if you're tower boosting the whole time like I am, but it might be a problem, so keep that in mind. Next is this minion wall. I don't think you really need to go all the way with this wall. I think like up to here is all you really need to do, but I like going all the way because it's funny to just see this giant wall of archers. And that's pretty much it. Just place down like 2-3 spiders behind each of these minion walls and a few mages, and that's all you really need to do. So minion, spider there, mage here, and maybe move this back a little bit. Mage here, and also a mage here. And then 2 spiders and 2 mages back here. And that should be it for the entire build. Again, upgrade priority, get the buff beams, get the auras, and then finish off with your reflector walls. Specifically, this one right here is going to get battered like crazy. And then this one right here, also going to get battered like crazy. I don't know why, but the enemies decide to focus those down a lot more than the other ones. And there we go. Now, up until you get all of your towers maxed out, up until you get all of your like important towers maxed out, stay on your Jester, because you just want to get the upgrades done quickly. But once you've finished those upgrades, you can move on to your monk and start tower boosting everything. If you're wondering why this build works despite no towers being down here, it's because ogre aggro is a funny thing, and it's really weird, because for some reason those minions being up there and all the towers being up there means the ogres completely ignore this crystal. I have no idea why, but it's the only reason this build is able to work. Alright, that's pretty much all the walls, all the upgrades necessary. Now just go on to your monk, sit on top of these towers here, and just tower boost the entire time. Face this way for best mana gathering. Alright, we're now level 78, and we can finally go ahead and equip that Ace of Spades. I forget the actual name of the weapon, but mana gathering weapon. Temporary one. Let me show you guys. Many projectiles. Many projectiles. That's pretty much it. Worth mentioning before I get into the next wave, you can completely AFK this without like going with your tower boost or doing any of this up until wave, I want to say 27, maybe up to wave 30 if you have the stats I do. The only thing you ever have to worry about is this set of auras up here or that set of auras down there going down, because they just take too much damage from being alive too long. Something like that. So yeah, up until about wave 25, I'd say you can comfortably just, control G, go away, and then come back once the wave is finished, repair all the auras, and then rinse and repeat, which is what I'm going to be doing. So yeah, but if you want the waves to go faster, you can definitely just sit here, tower boost, and do all that. Get like a block of cheese to put on your mouse or something. Alright, I'm going to try going completely AFK for this because I want to go eat dinner. So it looks like we were perfectly fine for that. No big problems, but as you can see, the auras up here really took a fat beating. And apparently so did some of these minions. But yeah, we're on wave 24, so before the next wave starts, so like basically at the very end of wave 24, make sure you bring out your 3 extra characters so that they can get the extra guardian pets, because guardian pets are super useful and we'll definitely be using them in the future. Alright, last few enemies, spawning the extra characters, and wait for the last two characters, goblins to die. Cool. So it looks like, I'm going to leave on those extra characters, it looks like we mostly got apprentice, no, good guardians. Decent, actually that one sucks. Okay. You don't really care about your squire guardians, and you want your huntress guardians, your monk guardians, and your apprentice ones. Primarily your apprentice and huntress ones, because these two will boost damage. And by these two I mean the huntress and the apprentice. I didn't get an apprentice this time. Actually, this one sucks completely. So the thing is, on your guardians, quick little tidbit, the defense rate boost, whatever boost they have here, this will cap out at 40, and after that it doesn't matter. But you do want to get the number of defenses to boost to also increase up to its maximum, which is I believe like 4 or 5 extra defenses. So yeah, I'll explain how to upgrade these later. And by later I mean like in a very future episode. But for now, keep in mind that if you get a guardian other than squire ones, definitely keep them if they have like a good amount of upgrades. And, you know, 40 in their whatever boost. But yeah, the rest of these kind of suck, so I'm going to sell them and continue on with the wave. And we don't get any more pets until wave 30. And that's when we're going to be getting the Harpoon pet, which is what we're here for. Alright, that's all the extra characters put in, and we're about to finish the wave. So that's pretty much it. Now, this is the main thing that we came here for, just the Harpoon pets. But I will stay here for the Deadly Strikers because I like having them. There they are. Let's see what we got real quick. They're all going to be Transcendent, and it looks like we didn't luck out too much. You can get these up to like 13k, 12k-ish base damage if you are on Insane, but it looks like we stuck around the 9k range, which isn't that bad. Certain ones like this one, or maybe this one potentially, can be pretty useful. But we're only here to get a decent one anyways, so it doesn't matter that much. Anyways, back to the AFK. AFK, back to the grinding. Yes? Yes. And I'm gonna keep all 4 of these either way though. Alright, we're on the final wave, and I have a strategy for doing this final wave. It's been super easy so far, but you know, final wave plus 4 characters might present some trouble. So this wave I'm gonna have the the monk sitting on top doing the exact same thing as always, and I'm gonna have the Jester infinitely feeding the monk mana, so that we never run out of mana, basically. Actually, I should swap these characters if that's the case. So Jester is the primary, and Monk is the secondary. And then after that, I'm going to bring in, I think, I'm going to bring in my Apprentice, and then my other Monk. Initiate, yes, that's the name. So depending on what character you bring in, you'll get different weapon rewards at the end of the map. So by bringing in my Apprentice, I get a Mage weapon. By bringing in the Initiate, I get a Monk weapon as a reward. So just in case you didn't get a good enough, Ace of Spades, this is another way to do that. But starting the wave, just hold right click like this, and then press 2, and go back to your main character, and then just start feeding the guy mana a lot. Just spam M, and you will have no problems with this wave. And if you do, just go into Jester and use the triple sword tech with the spin of wheel. Wheel of Fortuna. It looks like I ran out of mana, so I'm just going to wait for the cooldown to go down again, and then just continue with the same thing. About halfway through the wave, so you might have to do it twice. Back to the main character, and continue the bullshit. Cool. That's just about everything. Very cool. Alright, let's see what kind of items we got. Oh, we got a Apprentice Guardian. Let's hope it's decent. Several Apprentice Guardians. These are fine because they have at least 40 of the boost and a bunch of levels. This one is also fine. Wow, I'm amazed these are actually good. And then as for the Deadly Strikers, at 18,000 seems very high, but it seems like the Deadly Strikers are fine. We're not going to be really using them because they don't have very good DPS, but it's cool that we got them. Wow, Supreme one. Fun fact, the Archmage's staff, the staff reward that's dedicated from here, it has a higher damage per upgrade than the Eagle Crest standard thing that we have right now. I think this one is like 138 compared to the 106 that the Crest standard has. So if you get a good one of these, it might be worth replacing your weapon. But other than that, cardboard tube does not look like it's any better. And accessories, right, you get accessories from here. This one kind of sucks. This one is kind of sucks. And this one is actually really good for a Aura Monk. There we go. Cool. Our EV currently has terrible speed, and I'd like to make sure that our EV has decent speed and doesn't need to swap out the chest plate like I currently have done. This looks like it could be good for the EV. Yeah, it's got a lot of speed, and it's got most of the stats that we want. There we go. So now I can go back to having the original chest plate I had on the EV. But yeah, that's it for Magus Citadel. We got everything we wanted. We can move on to Crystal Defense, yes. But before that, we gotta set up a character, because right now we don't have a very good DPS monk. Yep. Cool. Now we have a bunch of extra mana. Not that much, but it is enough to upgrade our items and equip things. So first things first, we gotta get the right Harpoon pet. So this one has the highest damage here, and it's got ability 2, which I like, but it doesn't have ability 1. I can't really choose between these two right now. I'll choose this one, screw it. And for this, just upgrade the damage. I'd say get the damage up to around 15k. That's where I'd say you want it to be around, but it doesn't matter that much. I'm gonna just keep it as it is for now to conserve a bit of mana instead. And then we need to go ahead and equip a different gear set, because right now we are super put into the tower boost, and we want to be mixed DPS and hero boost for the next map. Oh, and we need to upgrade the Ace of Spades, right. So Ace of Spades, just go crazy with it. I want to keep, that's enough mana reserve. So now we're dealing like 114,000 when we're boosted, and once we were finally like, you know, reset it to have a lot more hero boost and a lot more damage, we'll be doing way more damage. I'm thinking like 200k per hit, and the Harpoon pet should be dealing a lot as well. Yeah, it should be dealing about double that. See if we can get that going. Alright, so here's the new set. We haven't upgraded everything completely yet, but you could tell the stats are a lot more balanced. And you don't want to completely ditch your ability 1 tower boost here, because we're going to be using that a fair amount when we're getting into the actual like final part of the Crystal Escort. So the majority of the map is just going to be like following the crystal around and dealing DPS. You won't care that much about towers, but for the last little bit of it, you have to defend the crystal properly with towers and stuff like that. So we're going to want to have a good tower boost whenever we need to do that. Before I forget, if you're able to, try to level up one of the other harpoons that you've gotten, because we're not going to be using just one DPS character for this map, at least for the final wave of it. We're going to be using 2, and we're going to have the other one on our Jester, at least temporarily. Alright, so now on our Monk, with all of our newly upgraded gear, this is what we're looking at for terms of damage. That much from our Harpoon, and a little less than I was hoping for the right click. But that's more than enough for the thing that we have in mind. Alright, Crystal Escort, Insane Hardcore, let's get into it. This map is, I think this is like one of the most unique maps in the game, because you're not really like defending a crystal in the normal way. Basically, just sit on top of the crystal here and press G. For the first wave, you're just going to be like doing basic stuff. Sit on top of the crystal. If enemies get near it, they'll stop it. You got to kill them quickly, and that's why we have the Harpoon, because it's really good at that. Once you get around this corner or the enemies start bunching up against you, get your tower boost going, tower boost, hero boost going, and go crazy. If you want, you can zoom out here, and it'll actually make it a bit easier. At least for me it does. And you just kind of go along the path, kill enemies as they get nearby. There are checkpoints where you see right here on the map where my cursor is. At those checkpoints, you can go ahead, take a bit of rest, and like build things. But you are on a timer, so you definitely need to keep that in mind. You are on a timer here, and you need to get there by the end of, I'd say keep yourself like 5 minutes by the end of this whole thing. Otherwise, you won't have enough time to finish the final wave. Maybe enough. Yeah, it's actually, yeah, let's stick with 5 minutes. This specific area sucks because you have an enemy spawn right here, which means that they're able to contest the crystal super easily. Make sure you don't run out of hero boost when you're at this area. Otherwise, you're going to have a hell of a time. But once you get past it a fair bit, not as much of a problem. By the way, new enemy type, Harbingers. That's the guy who was murdering me just now. Actually hate them. The worst kind of enemy. Okay, cool. So now if you want to, you can just continue onwards without building anything, but I'm going to be a little cautious and do a bit of building on our summoner. A little bit of foreshadowing for the future, but we're going to be using ogre minions to just stall enemies. These guys suck badly when it comes to dealing damage, but they are very good for just stalling enemies and getting them to just, you know, not to focus not to focus the crystal down. I'm missing mana, but they cost a bajillion mana to make, which is really, really annoying. Basically, at every one of these choke points, resting points, yes, I'm going to be summoning 3 ogres and having them kind of block enemies for us at spawn areas or major choke points. And if I can, I want to make sure that they have auras on them. Not really because I'm worried that, you know, we're going to need them, more specifically because it's going to make it a lot easier just in case enemies do slip by to deal with them. Or it's going to make it less likely that enemies will slip by, basically. Alright, we can G up and ready, and do the same thing again. But it'll be a lot easier this time because we have everything set up. Wow, that guy is dying quickly. Normally I put up an aura on him and he's usually fine for the entire wave, but it looks like not the case this time. That guy over there, he's just chilling. That's funny. I thought he'd be having a tougher time. I might have activated that a bit early. Yeah, you can see the pathfinding for enemies is also a little funky whenever you have ogres up. And that's just another big bonus. All of the ogres for some reason focus the summoned ogres a lot, like way too much. But you don't hear me complaining, that's for sure. Oh, and don't worry about the crystal health. It has a bazillion HP. You don't got to worry about that at all. Alright, now that we got our boost going, we should be able to breeze through the rest of this up until the next checkpoint. Oh, and don't worry about... Wow, I'm having a tough time here. Don't worry at all about your... Whatchamacallit? What am I trying to say? Don't worry at all about your DU minions. Minions towers, yes. You won't have to go back there and sell them manually. They'll be sold at the end of the wave automatically, so you don't have to worry about that at all. And we made it to the next checkpoint. Cool. It was a lot harder than I thought it would be, but not too bad. And once again, definitely possible, even without using any sort of... I'll just upgrade this guy. Even without using any sort of boost from these ogres. And I know that it's possible because I watched Chica do it. Cool. So I'm going to put this ogre here and move him over to this area. And then I'm going to spawn another ogre. And this one I'm going to move over right here because enemies spawn here and it's a pretty big choke point. Now, whether or not he'll survive, different story, but he doesn't really need to. I just want him to block the enemies for a little while. Try to be quick in the middle of these waves because if you're not, you're going to have a rough time. And trust me, you don't want to have a rough time here. I don't know if that aura is going to be enough. I don't know if that's going to be enough there to reach that ogre. But just in case, I'm going to go ahead and spend a little bit of extra time, which I don't know if I would advise doing, but I'm going to spend a bit of extra time to slap down a buff beam here and over here. And then go back to business. Control G and continue. Looks like the ogre minion up here died, which means we need to start hero boosting. Oh, you only really need to start hero boosting once enemies are nearby, but I like to do it a little preemptively. These Harbingers are the absolute worst, if I haven't already mentioned that. Make sure you have your electricity resistance completely maxed out, because if you don't have maxed electricity resistance, they're just going to melt you completely. I don't know what they were thinking when they added them to the game, but these guys are the absolute worst. I hate them. It definitely is worthwhile to just spend a bit of extra time gaining mana from, like, I don't know, Dread Dungeon or somewhere like that. Just so that you can have an easier time killing these enemies, like upgrade your defenses, upgrade your Harpoon and things like that. But I'm not going to because I don't think it's super necessary. Alright, same thing as before. That ogre minion over there isn't necessary anymore, so I'm going to sell him once this ogre is finished. There we go. And I'm going to spawn him back right here. And the next ogre I'm going to place right over here. And this ogre can stay there. I need a bit of mana to summon the next one. Alright, cool. Need a bit of mana next one. Words? I did not say any words there. All of that sounded like English, but none of it was. Cool. And slap him right here. Swap to the monk. And place down a set of auras here. And back here. Again, if you want to, you don't have to do this, but it's a safety precaution. And also, if you only do the map on like hard and you have worse pet rewards and weapon rewards as a result, this will make it a lot easier on you. Cool. This area right here, checkpoint a bit special. You're doing a bit of core defense regularly because this core is going to stand here for a little bit while this wall explodes because there's a bunch of bombs here. So for that, just going to slap 3 auras there, slap 3 auras here, and then get the 2 ogres to spawn. Put one right here at the entrance. This guy, very unlikely to die. He'll probably be there until the end of time. And then this guy here, this guy also pretty unlikely to die. I've found, having done this like maybe 2-3 times, that these ogres at this choke point don't really die very often. Which is a good thing and a bad thing, because it means we have to resell them, but it also means that we don't have to kind of worry about them. And there's less enemies as a result. Alright, they're getting a little too close for comfort, so I'm going to hero boost. You can actually place 1 aura stack right here in the middle, instead of where I did with 2. Sorry, I had a burp there. That might be more effective, but I decided to do 2 sets of auras this time. Alright, now that we're in this area, we're going to start getting skycopters, wyverns, all them. But we don't have to worry about that at all, because we have a hero boost going on with a harpoon pet. I want this mana. I don't know if I would advise doing what I just did, but I definitely did what I just did. Cool. Gonna disable the hero boost, save a bit of mana, and there we go. Now I'm gonna place an ogre at this choke point right here, and then I'm gonna place an ogre around like all the way past here, and then a little bit after that as well. Basically, nothing's going to happen except for air troops down here, and the air troops are unlikely to directly target these ogres. So I'm going to move this one all the way over. Actually, if you can't place normally, just do move units with this command, and you won't have to worry about it. And I'll just stick with 2 ogres for now. I don't think it's going to matter that much. Swap back over to our view. And actually, no, screw it. Let's just move straight into the next wave, because we can't place auras over there, and this ogre isn't going to matter that much. But for now, we're at the next checkpoint, and we have about 15 minutes, which is just about on track. We only have like 1 more checkpoint to go to, and then we're basically done. Done with the baby mission section, I should say. I'm gonna upgrade this guy once. Hopefully he stays alive. Doesn't matter if he doesn't. And there's a spawn point right here. Cut that off. There's a spawn point right there as well. And I'll be moving an ogre over there. And now that we're in this area, the movement is a little funky, so you have to select your minion, use the command move the fence to actually move them. I don't know why it doesn't work normally, but it doesn't, and we gotta deal with it. Let's swap back over to the summoner. Sell these. Apparently this guy didn't do anything. Interesting. Sell these 2. Actually, I don't know if I should have sold that one. I'm going to spawn this one and have him cut off this spawn right here. Like so. One right here as well. And then the last ogre, I'm actually going to have him go super far. So he's going to go all the way over here. But before he's able to do that completely, going to swap back over to the monk and continue the wave. Actually, I think this ogre over here is supposed to be moving somewhere else as well, like somewhere on the bridge. Bridge? Is that a bridge? Yeah, it is. But I kind of forgot about that. Make sure you don't run out of hero boost if you can, which it looks like we are. So I'm going to quickly cancel it on purpose. So in 20 seconds, hopefully, We won't have to worry about anything. Oh, and definitely make sure you save a bunch of mana for this area in general, in specific. Is that the term? Because you're going to have a very rough time if you don't have enough mana to build all your defenses at once. So, you know, make sure to kill all these wyverns and things like that. Goddamn Harbingers. If you think the Harbingers are annoying now, just wait till next wave. Next wave till the build wave. Get as many of these extra kills as you can for the extra mana. And that's it. Yeah? Come on. Oh, come on. They're forcing me to reactivate this. That's not cool. A little cocky, I suppose. Very cool. Alright. Now is big build time. So go ahead, slap a basic aura stack directly on top of your crystal. Then you want to get a EV, get an EV, and slap down... Oh, I'm still slow. Why am I slow? Interesting. I'm still slow. Wow, that has a lot of negative. That's why. Okay. Put a buff beam, something like this, back here, and then put like a reflector or something over there. And that'll be that. Then go back, and onto your apprentice. You're gonna just spam down only lightning towers here. No DSTs, just lightnings. Many as you can, which it looks like that's our limit. I'm actually gonna sell this reflector because I haven't found it useful. But Chiku does use that reflector. However, one thing Chiku doesn't do is place down minions, which I'm going to be doing. So minions actually spawn from this point here and this point here, along with, or not minions, enemies. So I'm going to try and make a wall, not really for the ogres or anything like that, but mainly for the Harbingers, because the Harbingers are jackasses. Alright, I can't move them. The Harbingers are terrible. These I found they kind of take a circular path, so they'll go kind of like this. So you want to make sure you're able to block them that way. And you don't really need to worry about placing down mages behind these minions, at least not in my experience, because for some reason they don't take that much damage. And as a result, your regular defenses, regular tower boost should be able to keep them up. But definitely a good idea to put a mage behind them, just in case. And then over here, path is like so-ish. So just place them something like this. And definitely put spiders behind these minion walls, because it's always nice to have double damage every once in a while. Your main concern here is not the ogres, it's not anything else. It's just the Harbingers. Those guys are so bad. I hate the Harbingers so much. Make sure you have a solid wall on either side, because if a Harbinger gets through, they won't hit your crystal or anything, but they will absolutely obliterate you, which is bad because we're relying on tower boost. Something like that. Yeah, that's good. And then I'll place down spider minion, and I guess like another spider minion here. I find that that area on the left has a tougher time than the area on the right. Alright, cool. Go back to the monk, and also slap in our jester. We're gonna have a duo going here. Not a duo. We're gonna be doing this with 4 characters. Although you don't really need to, but I like doing it. Upgrade this buff beam to max if you can. I have had instances in the past where I didn't have enough mana to do so. It looks like this time I will, so there's no worries. But if you don't have enough mana to do that, don't worry about it. Just try to do it mid-wave if you can. But this is going to be pretty difficult. Placement is very, very important. Try to place your jester, whoever has a secondary thing, back here, a little bit towards the back, because the Harbingers will just run past your walls, even if they are like really good. And if they're close enough to your jester, you pretty much lose. But if they're close enough to your main characters, you'll lose. I'm going to bring in my apprentice because that boosts the damage of the lightning towers. And then as the last character, I'll bring in... Why not? Let's bring in the monk. Yes. But I'm just going to... what I'm going to do is, for this character, have him hold left click and right click down this general path. Swap back to my main. And Control G. So swap between tower boosting and hero boosting here every once in a while. Start out, I'd say tower boosting once everything spawns. And then if you ever get too much mana cost on your tower boost, swap back to hero boost and kind of run around the general area, dealing DPS. But it should be pretty easy, assuming you've done the build properly, which I'm not sure I have, but I'm not having any difficulties so far. It's a relatively short wave, but it is like, you know, at the very end of this, so you don't want to fail. You definitely don't want to fail. But as you can see, we're able to keep this up perfectly fine with our tower boost. Tower boost is costing too much mana, swap to hero boost, and kind of run around to help the towers in general. Do your best not to die to these, what are they called? To the Harbingers, but keep in mind they will definitely hurt you no matter what. Just do your best to max your player DPS and tower DPS. Alright, keep both of them up for now because our towers are getting beat up a little more than I thought they would. I guess a mage really wouldn't hurt in this area rather than 2 spiders. Oh well. Alright, hero boost is costing too much, swap back to just tower boost. And do our best to make sure that these minions do not go down. We won't lose necessarily if they go down, but I'd rather they don't. Just like a general thing. Same with these. I mean, these lightning towers are our lifeline, obviously. We definitely don't want them to go down. Okay, cool. So it looks like we're nearly done with this. Just a few more waves of enemies. And I'm going to start hero boosting at the same time as tower boosting to deal with the last little bit of it. And you'll have plenty of mana lying around, so you shouldn't have to worry about it. It really is just about ratioing. Is that the term? Keeping a good ratio of hero boost to tower boost going. Cool. And that's that. And this leaderboard is glitched, so it'll put you on number 1 on the leaderboard. Very, very likely. These eggs, if you have 10 of these eggs, you can go back to your tavern and get a chicken pet. And the chicken pet is super, super good. Super good. I, however, do not care for it at the moment, so I won't worry about it. But if you do this map on Insane, you will get 4 eggs, or 1 egg per character. If you do it on Nightmare, you get 2 eggs per character. Do I keep you? I will keep you temporarily. Alright, this is what we're here for, by the way, the chicken baller. Let me show you guys why this is such a good weapon for gathering mana. Chickens roll around everywhere, they go in random ass directions, and they explode. And they don't deal that much damage, which makes them perfect for gathering mana. They also tend to roll with some decent stats, depending on what you get for luck, but it doesn't really matter that much. Just try to get one that has both ability 1 and ability 2. Primarily ability 1, because we're not too focused on dealing damage for now. But I'm just going to keep all of them because I can't decide. The next thing is the accessories, and these accessories can be pretty good. In fact, this time the accessories were pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and put them on the character. That's the main goal that I had for this episode, just getting that done. But as I said before, I will be doing LabAssault, so we'll get there in a minute. It looks like we already have one for our monk, so I'm going to get an accessory for our, what's her name? This one. There we go. And let me just check to make sure that none of these egg throwers are better. Oh, this one's way better. Okay, cool. New weapon for her. And I'm not going to bother checking anything else. Just going to keep the eggs for now because I do want to get that chicken pet eventually. Alright, unlock all, sell all. Boom. Good to go. Cool. I have a very bad problem with hoarding. I need to start throwing things away. As far as the chicken baller goes, what you want to do is get the projectile speed to at least above 10k once again. And as far as the damage goes, try not to go too high with your damage. Your ideal goal is that on Nightmare, I think, I'm not 100% sure, you're dealing about 2,000 damage per hit on Nightmare. I don't want to waste too much mana. Waste? Use. That's about fine with me. 1,500-ish, whatever. The main purpose is just dealing damage to collect mana. But yeah, so now we're ready to move into the harder maps like Karathiki Jungle and all them. But before that, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of LabAssault. Before that, I am going to go ahead and swap my weapon. This crystal tracker thing that I picked up earlier, max out its projectile speed and then go all into damage. And for the moment, put it on our Jester. And otherwise, our Jester looks fine. Probably want to re-inspect him a little bit more into damage. This is a better DPS pet. You can't use pets during LabAssault, so don't worry about that. We're going to be doing it on Insane, not Nightmare. Although I do believe it is possible for us to do it on Nightmare. Spawn in our extra characters, hide them, and jump into LabAssault. Now, I'll be honest, you don't need to do LabAssault at all, but I'm going to be doing it because I really like LabAssault. It's also a good way to get mana, and we definitely want a bunch of mana for now. Yeah, in general. Cool. Lab Assault route, just follow what I do, roughly. Don't jump on these will instantly kill you. Get up here, just quickly kill that crystal and get back down. Then follow this path here, swap to your crystal tracker, and then jump across here, first person, and shoot this crystal. Try to find a sweet spot for damage, but as long as you get it down, that's all that really matters. Then swap back, kill these enemies so they don't bother you. Be careful of this bowling ball turret because it might knock you off. Kill one of these ogres if you can, or if you want to, it's not really necessary. And then go back over here and do the cheese for this crystal. Just jump up here and shoot it from afar. Isn't that cool? If you have a crystal tracker, no, if you have a BF drill, which is just like the same thing as this, but way bigger AoE, you're able to do something cheesy on this crystal. But we don't have that, so instead, be ready to move, schmoove. Jump over this trap if you can, and boom. That's that. That's all you gotta worry about. Very loud. And if you have the time for it, sit here and do heal, 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 and you're good. Try to sit a little bit on the track here, and definitely do not sit on this edge here, on this rounded corner, because if you do, the EVs don't know what to do, and they'll just get stuck in areas that you can't deal with. But yeah. I just realized I haven't explained what Lab Assault is. I'm not confident I could. All you need to know is that there's a bunch of these EVs and you gotta kill them. And whenever you hit them, most of the time at least, they will start jumping like these. Which means, just like that, you can get them to fall off the map. So funnily enough, even though we wouldn't have the DPS to be able to kill them normally on Nightmare, we could kill them very easily on Nightmare by just getting them to jump off, just like that. Like this. Do that, and then go crazy with it. And they drop enough mana on death that you don't have to worry about mana. And they don't deal that much damage, so you don't have to worry about the damage either. But that's pretty much it. I'm not going to do more than one run of this for the moment, but keep in mind you can farm this place for armor for a long, long while. Oh, and we unlocked a new achievement and an outfit. And this place gives you accessories, which is another thing that I completely forgot about. Most of the accessories you get will be anywhere between Cursed and Supreme, so a fair amount of them we won't be able to use, and most of them are going to kind of suck. You get a bunch of weapons here as well, but I'll be honest, the weapons are almost always trash, so don't bother looking at them. The armor, however, like this piece right here, can be decent. This is probably good for a apprentice. Cool. So it'll be a mixed bag in terms of the loot rewards. But it's definitely worth looking at. I have gotten... Oh, wow, that's really good. None of our characters can use this yet because they're not level 83, but that's really good. This I will put onto our Jester because DPS. This is also good for our Apprentice. Well, not really good, but like okay. I'm not explaining things very well, I apologize. I'm just equipping things when I see them and if they look decent. Okay, that looks like that's it. And even though we've equipped a few items and things like that, when we unlock all, sell all, we get a bunch of mana. I think most of the time you get anywhere between 150 to 250 million mana from doing this. And you can definitely do this in like maybe 2 minutes flat. So it's actually a pretty good mana farm. Not that good of an an armor farm, but also a good accessory farm. Kind of 2-in-1. I won't be doing this too much because I instead will be doing Arcane Library for accessories and just going straight into Karithiki Jungle for mana and also for armor in general. But that is it for this episode. Next episode, I think I'm going to start it out with doing a bit of Arcane Library, and then I think we'll be able to jump straight into Karithiki Jungle, and hopefully after that we can move on to Infested Ruins. And once we're Infested Ruins, and I show you guys the campaign build and a survival build, we should be able to just do whatever we want, because once you're able to farm Infested Ruins survival, you can do literally anything you want in the game, because this place is the best place for armor drops. Anyways, that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys in the next one.